I want to explain a couple important things about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before you decide to take it. Obviously, it is an incredibly popular martial art, and that's why I'm addressing it. It's the third most popular martial art in North America, and it's one of the fastest growing. But there are dozens of different martial arts out there, and every instructor is going to give you a different answer. So my priority here, as someone whose training is only intended to be as efficient and practical as possible, so for example, I or anyone else can be ready to defend themselves in a matter of days before we, travel overseas or internationally to take care of business somewhere else. My priority is keeping people safe. So I'm only interested in what works on the street. I don't encourage anything too advanced or fancy, and I don't own or manage my own martial arts gyms. So here's the distinction about Jiu-Jitsu. Unlike the many showy and sporty martial arts out there, Jiu-Jitsu is absolutely effective at self-defense, as a self-defense practice. But the catch is that it is also extremely technical. So to be good enough to sufficiently defend yourself with it, you would need to commit a lot of time to it. I mean, if you aren't training multiple times a week and getting those hours in, you're not going to remember very much or learn very much. You won't retain a lot or be good enough to defend yourself. So we need to be realistic about jiu-jitsu. If we're working 3 jobs just to live in the city, like where I live, everyone needs, at least a couple jobs, or we have kids, you're really limited for time, then there are much better martial arts out there for you. So think about it this way. I know someone with the experience to teach you how to win 99% of fights and attacks in just 2 days. You can't do that with jiu-jitsu because there's too much to learn, way too much. In some trainings, you're just sitting there as they show you some move that takes like 10 different steps to complete, and you have to view it from different angles and ask them to perform it over again. So if you're planning on training for the rest of your life and you're very committed and interested in it, then you can master a lot of useful moves. But most people just aren't going to do that. They're not passionate enough. They just want something that works. You may have also heard people say that 99% of fights end up on the ground. And that's why jiu-jitsu is one of the best martial arts you can learn. But if you look at real street fights, you'll see that this really isn't the truth. It's a big misconception, and some people believe that the myth comes from videos of policemen getting into fights on the ground. And well, if you think about it, the reason why this always happens is because policemen are always trying to arrest people in these videos. So they're constantly trying to trip out these guys, like literally performing trip moves and taking these guys down so they can get the cuffs on, get them on their belly and get the cuffs on. And this leads to wrestling matches, the wrestling matches we see in those videos. So this result is enforced by the fact that most police officers can't just use a quick strike to the face or throat like you or I can when we're defending ourselves. If they did, they would constantly be facing legal complications for excessive force or assault. So in the fights that I've heard about from people with that kind of history, and the ones my friends have dealt with, I only know of one that actually went on the ground. Why? Because what you really want to do is strike fast, strike hard, and get the heck out of Dodge. You want to escape to safety. If you're out of the country and someone attacks you, you take them out with a straight blast, a throat jab, a palm strike, a quick punches, and other dirty moves like eye gouging, spitting at their face, and then kicking them in the groin, right? Stuff you can't do in martial arts. And if they hit the deck, you aren't sticking around to call the police or see if the guy gets back up to see whether or not you knocked him out. No, you're going to get the heck out of there and disappear. So the bottom line is you want to avoid getting on the ground as much as possible, unless we're talking about specific departments where the rules are a bit different. So if you're moving really quickly, which is how you should finish a fight, you should never end up on the ground. It's a bad place to be. So that's my thought on jiu-jitsu. If you're going to invest the time, then absolutely go for it. It's a wonderful skill to learn. But if you aren't going to put in that effort and you think taking one class is going to save you, you're just wasting your time. So like I said, my only goal is keeping prepping and self-defense simple and practical so I can get back home at night safe. Furthermore, I know people who have trained thousands of others on what actually works, and what you end up seeing is that these fights are just a variation of kickboxing. Guys are just shuffling around and trying to lay a punch somewhere. That's how they unfold usually.